Assalamu alaikum, lovies. This is Mariam Alima with another episode of What Do You Know About Islam with another edition of Flowers Where You Live. This is our beautiful sister.
Tauheedah Amon-Ra.
And I want to thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview with me. I really do appreciate it. Of course, these are her beautiful flowers where she lives. She is a pioneer. I definitely don't want to get into much of her own story because I would love for her to share it with you all herself. So without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and get right into our little questionnaire. If you may state your age and your date of birth.
I don't know if I want to state my age.
You don't have to.
Well, I'm closer to 70 than 60.
Yes, ma'am.
I'll just make it like that.
And don't look a day over 35. Neither does her children. I just met one of her beautiful daughters. And I am a beautiful age of young 30, and I thought this sister was younger than me. Turns out she's 11 years my senior. So I have to figure out what fountain of youth she's drinking from. Yes. Well, if you can tell me how you did come to find the Nation of Islam and the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
I came into the Nation of Islam in 1969. I was in New York, in Harlem, and we belonged to a group called the Harlem Youth Federation. My brother-in-law, who wasn't my brother-in-law at that time, Saeed Saladin and Hannibal Ahmed, everybody who was in the Harlem Youth Federation, you went from there almost into the Nation of Islam.
What is the Harlem Youth Federation?
It's a group of youth who worked around in Harlem, teaching about Black history, thing they taught a lot of the messages, teachings and everything. So it was a group, it was just like a segue into the nation.
Okay.
And almost everybody who was in the Harlem Youth Federation went to the Nation of Islam. But before that, I was always kind of discovering stuff. I was in the Yoruba Nation. I was in the Black Panther Party, So then in 1969, I got my ex. So you came into the Nation of Islam.
Yes, ma'am. You can say that when were you conscious? Did you grow up in a conscious household?
I grew up in a very conscious household. My mother was very conscious. I was at the March on Washington. I was only like 11 years old at the time, but I was there. I went to Poor People's Campaign, everything. My mother was very active. She was a nationalist. So we were always participating in anything that was going on with the Black consciousness movement.
And you said that you were a part of the Black Panther Party.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. I just showed my daughter a documentary today, ironically, on that because I was listening to something last night about, a man wanted to boycott the movie. Clearly this was an old podcast that I was listening to, but the premise was he didn't want children to think that the new Black Panther was the Black Panther and for them to not know any of the history behind what it was. So I said, I had to think about it. I said, oh my gosh, I know I've taken my daughter to see this movie. I didn't do my due diligence to make sure that she knew in depth about the Black Panther Party.
Yes, but I can go back before 1969 in the nation when I was, I think, 7 or 8. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad came to New York. I think it was either Rockland Palace or the 369th Armory. And that was my first introduction to the Nation of Islam. My mother and my aunt took us there. I was very young, 7, 8 years old. All I can remember them searching my pocketbook. So that was really my first introduction here in the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I think it was Rockland Palace in Harlem.
Yes, ma'am. Back to the Harlem Youth
Federation.
You said that they were doing some of the teachings within that?
Right, because they were, matter of fact, one Savior's Day, both of those brothers did a workshop, and they were very much into the nation, and they studied a lot. Egyptology and the teachers of the Nation of Islam, they did a lot of comparative analysis and studies. So they everybody who was in that organization, I would say 90% went into the Nation of Islam.
When did is that something that's still going on? Or
I don't think the Harlem Youth Federation is still functional, but everybody who was in that Harlem Youth Federation basically became community organizers, started doing things in the community, came into the nation. So everybody who came through there was very productive in life.
And still doing what they need to do.
Right.
Yes, ma'am. Now, did you have any other family that came within the nation with you?
I had my sister. She was Cheryl 21X. She lives in Phoenix, Arizona now. I had a brother, Morris, and my basic family. My mother never came in the nation, but they were the army you didn't see. So they loved the nation. Yes, so they love the nation and they supported us very much, their children and the nation.
Well, I love that. A lot of people actually don't have that same support, be it from their parents or even their children.
Right.
And so that's beautiful. And your sister is still active, living in
No,
peace?
she's not active.
She's not,
when
okay.
The nation split, a lot of people but she still follows the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So if you can go to a structure or not, you can still follow the teachings. You know what I'm saying? So you have a lot of people when the nation fell, they never came back, but they still followed the teachers. They never followed Imam Warfdi Muhammad. They still stuck with the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad.
And we're going to just go ahead and segue into that, because that is one of the biggest things that stemmed this series for me within speaking to pioneers, is because that split, I had not realized, affected so many young people, older people, and a lot of people have not yet found their way back. Some people, like you said, are still going on with the teachings, but some people fell off to where they left the teachings completely because it
was very hurtful.
Yes, they lost
when the nation
something.
fell, and they just felt like that was their whole life. I was there since I was 17 years old. A lot of people came in, maybe younger than that, but that was your life. That's what you knew. So when it fell, a lot of people needed, I think, that discipline. And some people can self-discipline, but some people needed that this, and they just fell off, And then when the nation fell, I just started reading everything over again. How to Eat to Live, Message to the Black Man, Our Savior Has Arrived. So that sustained me.
Yes.
In addition to, like I was telling you, the restrictive laws of Islam, that keeps you strong. That's what keeps you strong, because there's so much out here. And initially we all followed the Imam for a while, but then after a while, it just didn't sit right with me. And a lot of people, I still have friends who follow, the Imam, and that's fine. If that's what, they want to do, I have no problems with that. But I knew I didn't fit well with that.
Not exactly. I concur with you 100%. For me, myself, and within my journey within the Nation of Islam, with having had left and going to practice Sunni Islam and now returning, and getting acquainted with a lot of followers that do follow Imam Warfdi's teachings, I realized that there was a purpose for that as well, and that we are still one ummah.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
And everybody, if it wasn't for the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a lot of these different splinter groups and Islamic organizations wouldn't exist.
Would not exist.
So they can say all praise is due to Allah for the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Whether they're Orthodox Muslims, Sunni Muslims, whatever, a lot of them got their teachings from the Messenger when he started in the 30s.
Yes.
And brought them to Islam, whatever kind of branch that they
These are
serve.
Actual facts. These are actual facts. And I know it was beautiful. This past Ramadan, I went to a Imam Warfdi masjid, and they were just speaking so highly of the Messenger. For me, when I practiced Sunni Islam back in 2001, but when I started going to a predominantly Sunni masjid, it was not under the teachings of Imam Warfdi. It was, Orthodox from Middle East, and they denounced all of the teachings. And so
But those same individuals who may be denouncing the teachings of Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they weren't invited to Mecca this year with a whole team and delegation, everything paid. So, so who's teaching Islam? We know what Islam is. We know that the Messenger taught us, to love ourselves first, and that everything else would fall into place. So, whatever works for anybody, hey, because I have a lot of my friends still with that community. It's fine. We grew up together in New York.
With the Orthodox?
With the Imam Warfdi Muhammad.
Oh, yes,
yes. Well, a lot of my friends and everything, not the Orthodox Islam. I'm talking about follow the Imam. And that's no problem.
And even with, I have not gone to any Orthodox masjids in maybe about 2 to 3 years, because the atmosphere is very segregated. And with going to an Imam Warfdi masjid, I could see it was just so many black faces. It was totally different. Although that they
that's not Islam. It's more the culture. type thing.
Yes,
it's more of the culture.
Exactly.
It's not the teachers. It's
It
the cultural component.
You're right about that, because
Yes.
racism is everywhere. The white man tainted it all, and it tainted the religion for some in Islam, and so that they practice it racistly, or racially,
or they think it's only the Arab thing, and so they really need to go back and study and understand. When we first came over here, before we were enslaved, we were practicing Islam. Whether it was that name, that particular, we were submitting our will to the will of Allah. So,
and that's what it's all about.
Yes,
being Christian, whatever you want to call yourself, as long as you are submitting your will to the will of Allah, God, and you're doing the work, then we are your brothers and your sisters, and we love you too.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am. I did want to touch on the sisterhood. As I've come back into the nation, and I am just trying to do the work. I just have this new. No one can take this away from me. I realize that it is mine. I was blessed to have been born within it, even though I lost it, and now that I've regained it, I'm holding on with everything. But one thing that I have noticed is that hearing people, pioneers, speak of the days of your, days past, that the sisterhood was just different. And if you could touch on that, what was your experience in sisterhood?
Well, I think the sisterhood is still strong, but I think when you said it was different, because we didn't eat in restaurants unless it was a Muslim restaurant. We didn't associate with a whole lot of people outside of the Nation of Islam. So those type of things helped to make the sisterhood much, much stronger, because we were among ourselves most of the time.
Very tight knit.
Now, and a lot of sisters didn't work. We didn't work.
Blessings.
We had classes on Wednesday. So we were very close. And with socials and stuff we had among, MGT class. It was on a Wednesday. So that just showed you how many sisters didn't work. So we were much closer because of those variables.
Well, when did they change it to Saturday?
Much later. I guess everybody's working, and people, like I said, we stayed home, took care of our homes, our family, our children. We went to class on Wednesday.
It's funny.
During the day.
Listen to the theology of time, and even thinking back when I was younger, knowing the mosque meeting used to be from 2 to 4, and it used to be like, whoa.
Right.
It felt so late in the day. Well, it wasn't until, I started hearing people, they were going to church at like 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, what? I will say that I'm very thankful that we now do 11 to 1 rather than the 2 to 4, because I do sometimes work in the afternoons on Sundays. Right. And inshallah, one day very, very soon, I won't be working unless I want to work. Right. But not to say that the sisterhood is horrible or anything, because that's an untrue statement, and I don't want to give that inclination. But I do feel that it's lacking in some aspects, and I do believe that it can grow. And that's what we are one nation, and I want you to be able to call your sister on any part of the planet or any part of the nation, and be and for you to know and feel that sister and know something about her, and not just have love for her just because she's your sister within the nation.
I think it's strong, because when I go to Wallace Dean Muhammad's masjid, and the sisters there still say, there's nothing like the MGT. There's nothing like the MGT and GCC classes, what they learn. They have to bear witness to that even today. There's nothing like that sisterhood. Whether you perceive it as not as strong today as it was years ago, or, there's a lot of different variables, but it is strong. There's nothing like it. Nothing like the sisterhood of the MGT and GCC.
Well,
nothing.
Inshallah, I do want to start something for the Vanguard, and I've already spoken to the Vanguard captain, but I want to start implementing like Monday night, kick off your shoes, and we just
socials. We always
socials.
Had socials back in the day, and I think we're just getting back into that. And the reason why we had so many socials at that time, because we didn't go out, we didn't go to the movies, we didn't go to concerts. We were in the house when it got dark. Okay, so we had socials among ourselves, so that helped to facilitate a closer sisterhood.
Which is necessary, because a lot of young sisters may not have been born within the nation. A lot of, we're always fishing to get to save our sisters and our brothers that are in the street. And they may still be tempted to go do those sorts of things. So when having something structurally already in-house to socialize with one another will definitely help build that. So inshallah, very, very soon, that is something that comes into fruition. Because again, I want those genuine, strong connections with each other. Don't get me wrong, but MGT, GTC, Vanguard all day. Yes, we wherever you go, you see that headpiece flying. You say, I see you. I see you, Queen. So, yes, ma'am. So we already did speak about the split. I did want to touch on, do you know, besides your sister, and I know you know some people that are no longer active within the nation, but not necessarily that aren't following the teachings of Imam Mu'addin, but do still follow the teachings.
Yeah, there's thousands and thousands of people who used to be in the Nation of Islam who are no longer in the Nation of Islam. But I think if anything went down, they would be there. Just like we said, there's an army you see and there's an army you don't see. And that's very real. So they may not come out to the mosque. A lot of them come to Savior's Day, but they're just not in the mosque, and that's on them. I have no problems with it. I still have a lot of people who came in the nation with me, very good friends I've known over 50 years. They're not in the nation. They don't talk bad about the nation, anything like that. They said those are the best times, and it taught them so much in their lives to put them where they are today.
Have any expressed any specific reasons why they may not be inclined to be active, re-register? Is it due to, because in the nation, these restrictive laws do require a certain degree of discipline. I must say, but beautiful discipline. And for me, giving up all those worldly things, it actually happened naturally. I was partaking in the marijuana, and then I was like, you know what? I don't sing better high. I'm not writing any new music while I'm high. Mariam, why are you smoking?
Yeah.
And I put that down.
Yeah. A lot of them are not doing things in the world,
not even
getting high or doing things like that. That's just their choice. And I respect that because I think they're still Muslims because they still submit their will to the will of Allah. They still believe in the teachings. So if that's good for their life, where they are right now, I have no problem with it. They're still my brothers and sisters, and I love them.
Oh, that should be stressed even more. You're definitely right about that. For me, I know I needed to. I wanted to register. I don't necessarily say that I needed to, but I knew it was something that I really, really wanted to do now, and I didn't want to register and write my Savior's letter prior to when I did it this time around was because I knew I was doing all of these things.
Some people need more structure in their lives than others. And I think a lot of people that fell when the nation fell back in the day, those people need more structure. Okay? So a lot of the people that I knew and still friends with, they came from maybe other organizations into the Nation of Islam. They were in the Black Panther Party. They were in the Yoruba Nation. They were in other organizations before they came into the Nation of Islam. So they knew how to deal with structure. They knew how to deal with somebody in charge and the things that you have to do. So I think they know how to police themselves. And that's what a lot of them are doing right now.
Yes. That is a strong aspect of being doing for self. So that's something that's even within teachings alike.
Oh yes, when I didn't come out for a while, and people used to see me, Sister Tauheedah, where are you? Where have you been? I said, I'm out here doing the messenger's work.
Can you tell me about that?
Well, I came in the nation in '69, and when the nation fell, there was nothing to do or go to.
Yes, ma'am.
Then when the minister stood back up,
in 77.
I was right there. We had myself and another sister, Muriel 5X. We used to have classes at the Harlem State Office Building, MGT class. We were so glad. at the minister starting the Nation of Islam all over again. So we did that. So and we brought him to Baruch College. I was in Baruch College at that time, City University. So we were glad. Then I came down here in '91, and I started coming out to the mosque here. And then I stopped coming out when I started working. I didn't come out for a while. Oh, long time, 15 years maybe, something like that. Yeah, maybe about that much. And then I just...
Were you going to Savior's Day and other events?
Yeah, I would go to different events and stuff like that. And maybe about 2-3 years ago, I was working at the 10,000 Fearless because I'm a hands-on person. I like to do and work. I like the community. I like the people. So then the sister said, well, you out here working in the 10,000 Fearless, you might as well come on, back. And I did. So.
Wow. Yes. If you may please speak on, tell the people about the beautiful 10,000 Fearless headquarters that we have here in Atlanta, Georgia.
Yeah. Well, the 10,000 Fearless, basically, that's what the minister had said. He wanted 10,000 Fearless. And basically to try to provide a place in the community where people can come if they need food, anything. They can knock on the door almost 24 hours. They need help with medical assistance, or they're trying to get a job. They need help filling out applications. It's like a place of refuge where they can get some type of help. They need to know about different services. If we can't provide it, we can direct them along those lines. We feed the people in the community every Tuesday, every Thursday, and I used to do it twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I got a little burned out. So now I just do hot meals every other Thursday, but it's still every Tuesday and Thursday. But myself, now I go twice a month instead of 8 times a month.
Yes, ma'am. She is there. This is actually where we met some few months ago.
Right.
And I thank you for still doing it. Everyone thanks you for still doing it. And 10,000 Fearless is a haven for me as a philanthropist. One huge thing for me is feeding the people. And it's such a basic thing. Like, people don't have food every night. That's insane.
You take that for granted.
People truly do.
Yes.
And so I was doing self-feedings in Richmond, Virginia before I relocated here, and I bought an SUV and all, bought a cooler, and it was a lot easier. There were no permits that was necessary or anything like that.
Right.
So when I moved here and found out that you need to have a permit, I was like, wow, I broke down a little bit. I was like, they're really trying to hinder me from feeding the people?
Yeah, because if something happens, it's the liability. That's what it is.
That as well. And one thing that our beautiful brother Barry, that is a huge helper within the 10,000 Fearless, he told me, because when I was doing all this, I wasn't necessarily in the teachings. I was still in the world, even though being a Muslim, but not in the teachings of what I needed to do. And so he explained to me that, Sister Mariam, it's not safe for you to go out there by yourself.
Right.
And I like to test things, unfortunately, sometimes. And I even tested it this Ramadan. I must confess, this is a confession. It is what it is. But I had this bean soup and I had this farina bread, and I was like, they need it. They out there tonight. It's about to rain. They need it tonight.
Right.
And Allah sent me to the first person He knew I needed to go to. It was this sister that was sitting down, on the ground, and I got out, I fixed the bowl, and I had the farina bread and everything. And, she cursed me and threw the bowl. And I wasn't offended that she cursed me or threw the bowl. I was so heartbroken and torn that she was sick. And I would say, you know what? That could have been completely different had that been a male or group. And that,
so you understood what Barry was telling you.
I understand. It still broke me because it's like there's so many other things that you need besides this bean soup.
Exactly.
And
we have so many people who have mental issues. Mental health is a big thing in our community, and we don't seek the help that we need for it. And a lot of those people who are out in the street and are homeless have mental health issues.
They do. And proper treatment is vital. I'm not sure if some people need actual medical help, say be it prescription or what may have you. But we were blessed with auditing the Dianetics, and I haven't necessarily done my auditing yet. Inshallah, I'll do it very soon because I don't want to say I battle with anything, but I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder in 2009.
That's the new thing.
2009. Well, it's real for me.
No, I'm not saying it's not real. What I'm saying is that's a diagnosis. It seems like so many people
have it
these days. Mm-hmm.
I'm still going through my journey with what exactly bipolar disorder really actually constitutes, or bipolar syndrome, or what may have you. I almost feel like it's an actual spiritual awakening. Every time that I have an episode, it's something very super duper spiritual. I know when I'm having one, and I just decided that I was going to pray through it rather than take anything. Once I left the psych ward, I said, not about it. And that's because I have an older sibling who, for the last 20 years, I'm not sure what Allah has in store for him, but he has not been able to live a normal life and has to be on that.
Yeah, well, some people have to, because some people have this chemical imbalance. So to bring themselves back into balance, they need that. So that I believe that is real. A lot of people need that.
Inshallah, we can get all our people the help that we need. My last question on this beautiful questionnaire is, what is your hope for our beautiful nation?
To grow, to fulfill the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, to be unified. And like you see the Mormons, you see the Quakers, they're still here in America, but they have a land base of their own that they're working out of. And I don't think that means for us to leave here, because we built this place. So we would be abandoning what we built up. So just a section, a place, just like Utah, the Mormons have Quakers in Pennsylvania, and they live among themselves. They police themselves. You don't hardly hear them having any problems, anybody getting shot by cops and this and that, because they're policing themselves. So that's ideally what I would love to see. I think that would cut down on a lot of our problems as far as people getting killed, shot by cops and stuff. And I'm a former police officer. So I know that it's important for us to police ourselves, love ourselves. Because even though some people say, well, it was a black cop, it's a mentality. It's a mentality that people have.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yes, that's my idea, to have a land base, a place where you can police ourselves, grow our own food, do our own thing without being interfered with other people who are not thinking the same.
Okay, because I was going to actually touch on that a little bit further within, because I said the nation. Now within that, because I've always said that it would be a lot easier to be, when I was younger, it would be a lot easier, to live correctly if everyone was living correctly around you. But I realized that I had to help create that world.
Right.
Like if I'm not doing it, who else going to do it?
Right. You want a place maybe with all black people, but you can't have individuals who are living the restrictive law and have somebody next door, even though they're black, and they're smoking marijuana or drinking all day and night and fighting. You don't want that.
No.
So it's like a certain thing to come into this community. These are the laws.
These are the laws, not necessarily that you have to say that, you're a Muslim, but there has to be structure.
Right. If you want to live in this community, we don't smoke, we don't drink, we're not out in the streets acting crazy and things like that. Yeah, there's no problem with everybody living in a community like that. They don't all have to be registered Muslims, but you have to follow the guidelines and follow the laws.
Inshallah, that comes into fruition so much sooner than we could have ever fathomed.
Yeah. But it starts in your individual households.
Oh, yes, ma'am.
It starts in your individual household. How are you living? How are you living in your individual house? Then it goes out to your community. Then it goes out to the nation. Then it goes out to the world. So you start in your home first.
I wanted to keep trying to figure out how am I going to help impact the community. And I know I'm doing my little things, but it's like sometimes I want to take a bullhorn and just go out and teach the people.
People know, they can see. A lot of people are ready, a lot of people aren't. But like I said, it's the army you see and the army you don't see. In 1972, we had an incident in 116th Street, Temple number 7, where the police rushed the mosque. And who was around the mosque? Everybody, all the drug addicts, alcohol, the people in the street, they came and protected the mosque. They came and circled around because they knew, these are the Muslims. They don't bother nobody, and here y'all come. So that's why I say there's an army you see and there's an army you don't see.
Oh, that was before the because
1972.
1972. Was it the 80s that
we had another incident also
in the 80s?
I'm not sure what year it was. Maybe it was, but we had another incident also. But the point I'm trying to make in saying that is the people in the community will come to your aid because they know and see what you do. Like the 10,000 feelers. If anything, all those people down there, they may be doing the wrong things, but I think if a call went out and something happened, they would come to the aid of the Nation of Islam.
Yes, ma'am. No, I want to I was more on the aspect of the nation was going out and helping control the community, and then something happened, and they were trying to say that the brothers were doing something. Well, really, they were helping the community, and all the people knew, and the people again came to the aid to help back the nation. They were like, no, they help. They saved little Joe Bob the other day. Oh, yeah. So you're definitely right. I love that. That is something that I needed to hear and be reiterated to me, that the nation has a track record.
Oh yeah,
and it's a pretty darn good.
Saved a lot of people.
Yes,
saved a lot of people. I used to work on Rikers Island, and we had a lot of people. A lot of those brothers in there just totally lost. I mean, so a lot came through that era where they learned the teachings while they were in jail. Like Malcolm, and then they came into the Nation of Islam.
Yes, ma'am. I was blessed to meet one of our student prisoner ministers a couple of months ago, and the prison system and the ministers that go in there, that is a different atmosphere. And I want to give a shout out to those ministers that do that work, because that is important, and we support you and we love you over here at What Do You Know About Islam? Sister Tauheedah, I want to thank you so much for doing this with me.
Yes, ma'am.
You have so much wisdom, inshallah. Maybe there is a subject for a later date that you would like to speak about, to teach to people about something specific within Islam, be it a prayer, something that really resonates with you.
Yes,
inshallah, we can do that one day soon. But I want to thank you one more time.
You're so welcome. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you
so much.
Thank you.
Lovies, this was another episode of What Do You Know About Islam with our beautiful sister, Tauheedah. Please make sure that you become a supporter. You can do that by donating as well as sharing the videos. So I want to thank everyone for watching today, and assalamu alaikum. Peace.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay.